What's up, YouTube? It's Dave again. Just wanted to share something I've been thinking about. So, I've been really reflecting a lot on what God has been telling me when it comes to being in the present moment lately. Um, and it's been something that kind of comes up. It's like a synchronicity, like a synchronicity is when you kind of experience something in life over and over again and realize that God is telling you something through it. So you're kind of sensing a theme, right? And I've been really sensing that God has been asking me to just be more in the present moment, and from that, I've found a couple things, a couple little golden spiritual nuggets that have been really helpful and healing for me. That I just want to share with other people because it's good news that I've received from God and experienced, and of course, want to share that. So I've been drawn into the present moment because probably most of my life I have struggled with anxiety and depression to some point. And when I met Jesus, much of that was brought away. Suddenly I had someone that I could talk to constantly and receive love from in a real way that changed my heart and changed my life forever. But I've noticed that some of that anxiety and depression still wells up. And what God has been actually showing me is the power of His presence is in the present moment. The present moment, right? It makes sense. But, and you've probably heard this, how depression comes from living in the past and anxiety comes from living in the future. So I've kind of like heard that as a cliche, but I've really experienced the fruit of the opposite right now in my life of being in the present moment with God. And, I think that a lot of times we can live in the past because we've had bad things happen to us or we've been hurt in the past and we want to protect ourselves in the future. So we kind of go to the past from a place of self-protection. Um, and in the same way with the future, we're projecting our past into the future. We're saying, I've experienced these bad things and I don't want to experience them again. So your mind takes those things from the past, those sad, depressing things that you kind of ruminate on, and can put them into the future. And that creates worry of, I don't want this to happen again. How do I avoid it? And then we can even create ways of understanding, how do I not only avoid these bad things, but how do I kind of set myself up for success in the future, right? Like, what do I want? What makes me secure? Money, job, status, relationship, like all of these different things that kind of deep down, we're going to a place in our heart of like, I want security in that thing. Because it makes me, I think it'll make me feel good and it'll make me safe. And there's actually a good desire in that we want to be safe. But I've found that there's like the saying, thank God for the things He didn't give me. That thinks like Darius Rucker, but he's talking about how like there's things that we prayed for in the past that, we thought we needed and God didn't give us. And it's actually really good He didn't give them to us because they wouldn't have been good for us at the time. And I think we can, as human beings, we can look at the future and we can say, I need this thing now and I need it to be happy. And that's actually not true. Like, we don't always know what we need and when we need it, but God does. Which actually kind of just ties back to that present moment, right? So what I've learned from Jesus and learned from just listening to God is, in order to actually like really trust God, which is also something that I've been called into, is to trust in God means to live in the present moment, because in that we're not living in the past. We're believing that our past isn't who we are. We're trusting that God's healing that, or has healed that and is healing it in us right now, and that the future is taken care of by God. So what we need to do is live in the present moment with God. But how do we actually do that? Now, That's a great question. And I think that one of the things that I've just received in my life as a grace from God is just learning about how God really is love. And I experienced that at the beginning of just when I called on Jesus, I felt this love in my body that was like nothing I'd ever felt before, and it changed my life. But I also knew that that love was just like a extremely turned up version of something I'd felt before. Love, right? And the presence of God, love. But I also have found that I am in the most in the present moment when I'm receiving love or giving love. And so I've also found that when you give love, you receive love from God. Um, so one of the ways to just live in the present moment that's been a great practice for me is practicing the presence of God in the present moment, which means loving other people, loving God, and loving yourself. Um, and those three all go hand in hand. Um, when you're able to love others, you experience the love of God and you love God more. And when you love God more, you also just, you're just caught up in that. And there's this download of really being who you are that comes from loving others and being loved. And that kind of even points to intention and confidence, right? Um, when you're doing something out of love for someone, even if they reject it, um, you don't regret it. Like, even if someone has a negative reaction to you loving them, you know you're coming from a place of goodness, and it gives you a boldness and it gives you a purpose in what you're doing. And I think God really actually wants to strengthen us in our lives in the present moment by giving love and receiving love. And in the process, healing us from depression and also healing us from anxiety and helping us just to really engage in what God has for us right now, both within ourselves with God, but also to give to others in our lives. And time over time, as the present moment unfolds, more and more fruit's going to come from loving others and loving God and just essentially being a vessel constantly in the present moment. So this wasn't as organized as I hoped it would have been in terms of talking about the present moment, but I would just encourage you to open yourself up more in the present moment to God and just simply um, call upon God to be with you in the present moment and ask God to help you to love others in the present moment and to do that throughout the day and see how that um, changes your life and changes you and how it helps you love others. So I hope that this message blessed someone. Um, and I know it's just bearing fruit in my own life, and I'm experiencing a lot less um, anxiety about the future and reflection and depression on the past, and just becoming more of who I am, which is found in the present moment with God. So I pray that this blesses you in Jesus' name, and um, send a link if you, or send a like if you like it, or a comment if you have questions or what have you. But blessings and love you all.